on earth?
Come in.
Oh, scusi.
Who the devil's the time?
Scusi, ma non so cosa devo fare.
Stop talking.
Signora!
Is it, Dominic?
The king! The king is here!
King?
King Leopold of the Belgians!
But it's only 8:30 in the morning.
Lo so, he has come to see la signora.
Who's brought him?
He's alone.
What have you done with him?
Oh, Dio, signora, he's waiting in the drawing room.
Your Majesty.
You are even more beautiful than I remembered.
You must forgive me for not being ready
It
to
is
receive you, but
I must ask forgiveness, madame. I gave way to impulse, an irresistible impulse to see you again before another day had passed.
I am honored.
You are a thief, Mrs. Langtry.
Sir?
You rob a man of breath and of words. I cannot remember a single one of the pretty speeches I made upon the way.
There is no need for speeches, sir. It is sufficient honor that you should call on me.
So unexpectedly, you mean? May I tell you why?
If your Majesty chooses. But first, may I offer you some coffee?
No, I regret, chère madame, that I cannot stay. I have meetings with your colonial office and foreign office, and then I dine with my respected cousin, Victoria, at Windsor.
You lead a crowded life, sir.
But I'm here at this unearthly hour, the only time I have spare. I keep remembering the moments I spent in your company at Lord Dudley's. Your beauty drew me back like a bee to a rare and delicate blossom.
You have remembered your pretty speeches, sir.
By art and from the art. I wish to renew our acquaintance in less formal surroundings, and to beg the privilege of calling on you again.
And before breakfast, too. What did Mr. Langtry say?
Oh, he just turned over and went back to sleep.
Oh?
Anyway, the king never even asked if he was at home.
No, he wouldn't. That's the trouble when royalty call. They take over the house. And if it's only you that they want to see, no one else can come into the room. Unless they're invited.
No one?
Not even husbands. That's what got the Prince of Wales mixed up in the Mordaunt's divorce.
How?
He used to call and spend an hour or so in the afternoon with Harriet, Lady Mordaunt. Pretty little thing. While her husband, Sir Charles, was out. Well, of course, none of the servants could go into the room unless they were sent for. They never were.
That's the trouble. People always think the worst.
The trouble is they're usually right. And now the King of the Belgians comes calling on you before breakfast. All the ladies in London are going to be mad with envy.
Well, I'm not sure I want them to know after what you've just said.
Well, don't ask me to keep it a secret. It's far too good a story.
Come in.
Parcel for you, signora, from Jersey.
Oh, a present.
Let's see.
Your parents are still living in Jersey, aren't they, Lily?
Yes, but my father's been given a larger parish, so they've had to move from our old home.
Oh, dear, will you miss it?
Oh, dreadfully. I can't bear to think about it. I was born there.
Madame Nicole?
My dressmaker in Jersey.
Something new.
Sort of.
You know, I shall never forgive myself for tearing your black dress. I was so sorry. Oh, but that... You've had it mended?
Remade. Identical.
I so wanted la signora to order something more pretty.
Yes. Why didn't you?
Well, if you can only afford one dress to be suitable for every occasion, it has to be black. Besides, I'm still in mourning.
Oh, yes. And of course it's so very distinctive. Wearing it, one could hardly fail to be recognized. Lily? Here's a friend of mine I'd like you to meet. Mrs. Langtry, Morton Fruin.
No, Mrs. Langtry and I have already met.
Oh, really? Where?
Last night at Lady Manners.
I'm still trying to think of an answer.
To what?
I was placed next to Mrs. Langtry at table. She looked straight at me and asked, "What are your spiritual beliefs?"
And what did you reply?
Nothing. It shut me up throughout the whole dinner.
I'm not surprised.
But perhaps we can continue our discussion again sometime, Mr. Flynn.
I'd be more than delighted.
Oh, your friends are waiting. Don't let us keep you.
If you'll excuse me. My regards to Colonel West, Mrs. Langtry.
Oh, Lily, really? Spiritual beliefs. You might as well ask an Aborigine his opinion of the pre-Raphaelites. Why didn't you tell me you'd met him?
Doesn't seem at all important.
Not important. He's the most eligible bachelor in town. Well, not as far as money's concerned. He hasn't got a penny. But he has other qualities. Yes, I thought you'd notice. I protest. I'm not going to introduce you to any more of my admirers or potential admirers. I can see it's the surest way to lose them.
Do you know him?
The Prince of Wales? Of course. We're old friends.
Seems our divinity has had a rather eventful day, Oscar.
Indeed it does. What did you think of him?
King Leopold or the prince?
The king.
I've an idea he thinks his divine rights extend a little further than I'm prepared to permit.
And the prince?
He rides like a gentleman.
And nothing else?
Well, he's certainly very impressive. I think I might be a little afraid of him, though Patsy says he's very approachable.
Well, she should know.
Oh, Lily, Frank's just been showing me his latest sketches of you. They're exquisite. Really exquisite.
Praise not the artist, but his inspiration. Will you take some tea, Mrs. Cornwallis West? Chinese, my own blend.
I'd love to, Mr. Wilde.
Sally.
You'll never get a spoon to stand up in it.
The spoon would have to be carved of jade of the Ming dynasty for the hand of a princess.
You got one like that?
Now, we leave it for 2 minutes to release its flavor.
How charming. Is that the way they make tea in China?
If not, I think they should.
Oh, you're very quiet, Lily.
I'd love some more.
You haven't heard a word we've been saying.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else.
Are we to hear what it was?
If you must know, I was thinking about my husband.
How very right and proper.
And how unusual these days.
Edward? Edward? It's not possible.
It is. E qui di nuovo. He's here again. King Leopold is here. Oh, I told him you were still in bed, but he said he would wait. Oh,
Where's Mr. Langtry?
asleep. Oh, it's all right. On the sofa in the dining room.
Make some coffee and bring it in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Benissimo, signora.
And Dominic.
Si?
Stay and serve it. Your Majesty.
No, no need for formality between us. Enchanting as ever.
I am overwhelmed that Your Majesty should visit me again so soon.
I could not stay away.
I hope my husband shall have the honor of meeting Your Majesty this time.
I've already met your husband.
Won't you please sit down?
It is you who must sit. You see? I'm learning the English manner, which is more democratic. Ravissant. I've longed to see you, sitting by your own facade.
You must be used to far grander surroundings, sir.
I weary of them. Of what value is a marble palace. If it does not hold the object one most desires.
Are your days still so busy, sir?
Alas, otherwise I would ask you to keep the afternoons for me.
I would not presume to take up so much of your time. I'm sure you have many other engagements, and I wouldn't want to cause resentment that I...
How shall it if we keep my visits here a secret between us? Who needs to know?
My husband may not understand that you...
Silly sachableur. And your skin, so soft.
Please,
There is no need to be coy.
I'm not,
No, you are a realist, I can tell, yes. And you are beautiful, but poor. That can change, you understand?
Sir, if I have said or done anything to make
Your
you so...
eyes told me everything I needed to know the moment we met. Oh, you must let me. Je te désire. Tu comprends? Oh, comme tu es belle et blanc comme le lys. The Jersey Lillie? Oh, no, say what you want.
Please.
Whatever you want, it is yours. Jewels, clothes.
Your Majesty.
Oh, say what you want.
I beg you.
Oh, stop this better, huh?
Please, Your Majesty.
Send them there. Send them away.
Yes?
The coffee you asked for, Signora.
Oh, what happened then?
She told him a photographer was arriving in 10 minutes and excused herself to get dressed. Dominique poured him a cup of coffee.
One can hardly throw visiting royalty down the stairs.
It's worse than that, Frank. If Lily offends King Leopold, it can destroy her in society. It would only take a word or two in the right place.
Yes.
And she'll have to be very careful. He'll be back, you realize that.
What will she do now?
Oh, she's not sure. Except of one thing. She says if I'm to be raped, I prefer to choose who does it.
Scusi, signor Langtry. Signora, it is him.
Have you said what I told you to?
Sì, ma lui insiste. He insists on seeing
Well,
you.
tell him again. I'm not yet dressed, and I'm not available.
Oh,
He
come
is
faccio a
not
dirlo,
to be
signora.
allowed in.
Va bene, signora. Oh, santo cielo. Mi dici di sbattere la porta in faccia a me.
What is all this? Who's not to be allowed in?
King Leopold.
And that stupid girl left him standing on the doorstep? It's pouring out there.
Well, it's no concern of mine.
But he's... Call her back.
No.
What do you mean, no? He's the... Now, look. You've done all this to get into society, and now you're sending a king away.
He's called once too often.
I've never heard of anything so gloriously daring, so sublimely audacious.
Oh, and suicidal.
And suicidal. To send a king packing. Oh, my dearest dear, I could hug you. One can only imagine how he felt, for the first time in his life, to have someone say no. What reaction has there been?
Oh, well, apart from Edward, who was furious, I've only told Patsy. She was horrified at first, then she laughed.
She would. But one thing, if she knows by lunchtime, half London will have heard.
Yes, I normally have several callers in the afternoon, and today nobody came.
Well, it may not mean anything. A few doors may be closed, a few invitations may be cancelled, but they can hardly send you to the tower.
Oh, well, he's here, coming up the stairs.
Who is?
Leopold. Oh, don't worry, it's not the king, it's the prince.
Prince?
I hope you realize you nearly gave us both a heart attack. He means Prince Leopold, the Queen's youngest son.
He calls now and then, like Princess Louise. Do come up to my studio and meet him.
Come in here.
I trust you forgive the intrusion. Lord Suffield and I were passing, and we thought we would like to see your latest work, Mr. Miles.
It is an honor, sir, as always. Your Royal Highness, may I present Mrs. Edward Langtry?
You've no idea how keenly I wanted to meet you, Mrs. Langtry. I've heard so much about you from my sister, Louise.
Her Royal Highness is more than kind.
May I present Lord Suffield?
If you'll forgive me, sir, it is I who should have carried out the introductions. For after all, I am Mrs. Langtry's oldest friend in London.
I wasn't sure that you'd remember me.
How could I ever forget? You see, sir, gentlemen, my family and I have known this young lady since she was a mere child. Little Lillie Le Breton in Jersey. And when she first came to London as a girl, she came to visit us.
It was my very first ball.
You never told us about it.
What a delightful meeting. We must not eavesdrop on old friends, gentlemen. Let us give them a moment. I believe these are your rooms,
Lillie.
Mr. White. How very charming.
Lillie. I can't believe it. You're married.
For 3 years now.
Bless me. And your parents are well.
Yes, very well, thank you.
We should never have lost touch. But of course, just about the time you must have married, I became an aide to the Prince of Wales, went off with him on his tour of India. And then he sent me on a private mission to St. Petersburg. When I returned, everyone was talking about the new beauty, Mrs. Langtry. But how could I have guessed? Look here. I don't know how many people in London you've met.
A few.
What I meant was, we're giving a small concert at home tonight. Rubinstein is playing for us, and Madame Patti has agreed to sing.
Oh, I hear she's wonderful.
I should like... No, I insist on Mr. Langtry and you joining us. We're still at the same place, Upper Grosvenor Street. My wife will be delighted.
And so shall I be, Lord Suffield.
Splendid. There's bound to be 1 or 2 people.
We have given you long enough, Lord Suffield.
Your indulgence, sir. I shall surrender the young lady at once.
Charlie.
Till this evening, then. Mr. Wilde.
Obviously, Prince Leopold hasn't heard much about this morning yet.
No, neither has Lord Suffield. He's just invited me to a party this evening.
But it would be a disaster if people were to snub you in public.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
You'll go.
Of course. People will think that I'm afraid to show myself.
Leopold of the Belgians.
Oh, dear.
I had no idea there was any connection, sir.
Oh, yes. Apparently he's been most attentive.
How very unfortunate.
Well, we must just hope, at least for tonight, nobody has heard about it.
Is it true?
Every word.
I can't believe it.
Neither could I at first. When I asked her why, all she said was, he did not behave like a gentleman, so I showed him the door.
It proves what I have always said.
And what is that, Mrs. Wheeler?
That there is no place in society for people who do not really know how to behave.
I presume that you refer to the Belgian gentleman?
Not serious.
Oh, but I am. You see, it proves to me that even kings, short of their regal trappings, may turn out to be mere mortal men.
Mr. Rubinstein is ready. I think it would be advisable to... Oh, dear.
I must try to help her. We go forward.
How delightful to see you, Mrs. Langtry. Mrs.
My dear, you have never been so admired. Everyone who is anyone is completely on your side.
May I add my admiration, Mrs. Langtry? Good evening, Shirley.
Good evening.
Mrs. Langtry, you have arrived.
I'm sorry if we're a little late.
Oh, not at all. My dear, you remember Lillie?
Of course, though I might not have recognized you.
My husband, Edward Langtry, Lord and Lady Suffield.
You are a fortunate man, sir.
Indeed I am.
May I introduce Sir Alan Young?
How do you do?
Mrs. Langtry, I had rather hoped to meet you before this, but our paths never seem to have crossed.
How could they, Sir Alan? You're always in the Arctic searching for the North Pole.
Searching, yes, indeed, but not finding. Indeed, I've just returned from an expedition.
But without,
Without success, as you say, quite rightly, sir. Still, I shall not give up. I shall continue searching.
My dear, I think it's high time for the concert to begin.
Yes, indeed. If you'll excuse
Indeed,
us,
sir.
Helena, my dear, you listen to me. I'll introduce you to some of the others.
You won't forget the party Thursday evening, Mrs. Langtry.
Good evening, Mrs. Langtry.
Good evening, Mrs. Langtry.
My dear, this is one of our leading artists, Mr. James Whistler.
Good evening, Jimmy.
Ravishing as ever, my divinity. I'm here only to gaze on you. May I introduce a fellow countryman of mine, a distinguished poet, Mr. Joaquin Miller.
Good evening, Mr. Miller.
I beg your pardon humbly.
There is no need.
Oh, but there is. I have watched you since you came into the room, devoured you, trying to frame a glittering fabric of words with which to greet you. But I'm speechless.
You appear to be doing very well, Mr. Miller.
Perhaps you should put it all down in a poem, sir.
I cannot. I have never written a poem to a living woman. It is a rule.
Then please do not break it on my account.
My dear Lily, I had no idea that after such a short time your acquaintance was so... nor of the effect you have on people.
Greatly exaggerated, Lord Suffield.
If all God's world a garden were, and women were but flowers, if men were bees that busied there through endless summer hours, oh, I would hum God's garden through for honey till I came to you. This is a poem.
Ah, it rhymes.
Who wrote it?
Joaquin Miller, Californian poet.
Ah.
Jimmy Whistler said he laboured like a furnace and brought forth only a few sparks.
Well, I thought it simple, but charming.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. I like it.
Well, this scribble, this backwards jingle, lines to you should burn with fire and sing to the heavens. This is no poem for you.
Yeah, now I shall say what I said to him, Mr. Wilde. Why don't you write one?
Yeah, you're always talking about it.
How very true, Miss Sally. Yes, I shall produce something more worthy of her. My tribute to the Lily.
While you are talking about your tributes, I have finished mine.
Ah, it is her tenderness exactly.
That is exquisite.
Oh, yes, very fine.
I think this time the praise is the artist's.
Thank you. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Miles?
Offer it to a gallery, sir. I shall have some reproductions made.
Oh, I shouldn't like it to be reproduced. I should like to have it myself.
I would be honored if you would accept it, sir.
Now, as it was my wish, I should like to buy it. As a reminder that I was here at its creation.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Langtry.
Are you waiting for my wife?
I did so want to drop in for a moment, and these two gentlemen kindly consented to come with me.
Oh, how very kind. She knows you're here.
Oh, yes, we've been here a little while.
Edward, how nice to see you. I thought you were at your club.
I'm just off. Just saying hello to your guests.
Oh, I'm sorry that you have to rush away, Mr. Langtry. You and I must have a chat sometime.
Yes, I'd like that. Yeah. Yeah, well, if you'll excuse me.
Now, please sit down. I've asked Dominic to make something for tea.
Oh, what a pity. I must be off. I've been invited to tea at Marlborough House this afternoon. The Prince of Wales' sister-in-law, the Duchess of Edinburgh, is here on a short visit, and I promised to drop in.
Then you must.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask one of these gentlemen to escort me. Now, I mustn't ask you to choose which one, Lily, so I shall. Sir Alan.
Of course. I shall be delighted to, Mrs. West.
You will forgive me, Morton.
By all means.
I thought so. Now, we must be off.
Well, Mrs. Langtry. Oh, Mrs. Langtry, I'm just getting my house in order. When it's finished, I do hope that you and Mr. Langtry will come to dinner.
We should be delighted.
Good. Good. Right.
Oh, prego.
You might almost think Patsy had arranged it.
What?
Well, she knows how much I wanted to talk to you.
Oh? About what?
Oh, nothing. And everything. Just to have you to myself for a minute. Provided you don't talk to me about anything serious. I was sent down from Cambridge because I can't take anything seriously.
So you're not a philosopher?
Good grief, no. Horses, fishing, hunting. That's about it. Though I am good with animals. You wouldn't be interested.
Why not? I thought you rode very well when I saw you in the park.
I was brought up on horseback. I haven't seen you riding in the Row.
No. I rather envy people who can.
Would you like to?
Oh, very much. But first one must have a horse.
That's no problem. It's easy enough to hire a hack.
I suppose one would have to ride side saddle.
Oh, Lord, yes. Look here, Hyde Park is not exactly the least public place in the world, but early in the morning there aren't many people about. If you like, I'll teach you how to ride.
I think I might enjoy that.
My word, you really do look quite the perfect horsewoman.
Thank you, Mr. Prune.
Oh, Morton, please. Since we'll be stablemates. Now, this is Redskin. He'll be yours. Now, don't worry if he looks a bit big at first. He's very well trained. There's a good boy. Go on, give him a stroke. Fine, very good. Now he knows who you are, you see. Now, this is how we get on. Put your foot into my hands, and then after 3, jump into the saddle. 1, 2, 3. Up we go. Hook your leg over that pommel. I'll put your foot into the stirrup. Now, don't worry about the reins just yet. Get the feel of it first. Enjoying it?
Enormously.
Good. That's right. Hold the reins very lightly.
Could you let him go for a moment?
Well, if you're sure.
Just for a moment.
Keep him steady.
Come on.
Hold on.
Come on.
Wait a minute. Lillie, for heaven's sake. Hold on, Lillie, hold on! You devil, you said you couldn't ride.
Only that I wanted to.
But you were worried.
Because I'm not used to side saddle. I started bareback.
And you got me to... Well, I hope you're satisfied.
I'm loving it, Morton. Come on, race you back to the gate.
Come.
What on earth? No cause for alarm. Pass on, pass on.
Mr. Wilde, what's wrong? You'll freeze to death.
I am on fire in an incandescent dream.
Beg your pardon?
An artist must always stay close to the warm source of his inspiration. My dear sir, do go in. My muse is timorous and may steal away at the sound of voices.
Yes.
Well, why didn't you ask him in?
If he wishes to catch pneumonia and make an exhibition of himself, that's his affair. What's he doing here, anyway? That's what I'd like to know.
He's writing a poem to me.
What next? As if it isn't bad enough having him hanging around the place day in and day out. And Fruin. And young.
You enjoy talking to Sir Alan.
Yes. Well, at least he's a cut above the others. I'd like to see that fellow Wilde landing a 10-pound salmon.
I had a silver frame made for your portrait. Now it hangs in my room at Windsor.
He must look out of place in such surroundings.
Oh, no. The private rooms at Windsor aren't really very grand, you know. Certainly not as comfortable as this.
Oh, I can hardly believe that.
Oh, it's true. It's so much more relaxing here. Of course, that is largely due to the company. I hope you didn't mind me inviting myself.
I was honored.
Well, that's just it. I know convention makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to refuse.
You are welcome for yourself, sir. The fact that we have so many interests in common, art, literature, the theatre, make it even more of a pleasure.
You're very understanding. It is a relief to find someone to whom one may talk openly, without always being on one's guard.
Are you quite well, sir?
I'm a little tired, that's all. I do hope I may come again.
Please, whenever you choose.
I must be careful not to imitate the example of my Belgian cousin. His presumption went beyond the bounds of acceptable behavior. We are all relieved it went no further, for if he had given you stronger grounds for complaint, it could have caused a serious diplomatic scandal.
Whatever grounds there may be, sir, I would not wish to embarrass His Majesty King Leopold as a guest in this country.
My family and I are very grateful to you, Mrs. Langtry. I look forward to our next meeting.
Has he gone?
I passed the sorrowful prince in the hall.
Oh!
You look pleased.
Pleased? Oh, it's been too long.
At times it seemed an eternity, now only a moment.
And the poem. Frank said you wouldn't come to see me until it was finished.
He was right. To have seen in reality would have spoilt the perfect image I was creating. And now it is done, completed. This morning I wrote, Fini, ave atque vale. No, you shall not see it until it is printed and perfect. It has been torn from my living flesh and will be a holy revelation.
Oh, Oscar. Oscar, you are unique.
Have you only just realized? Now that I've returned from the twilight, what shall we do? Say the word. Tonight is yours.
Oh, my dear, I can't. We have to go to a reception at Devonshire House. The Marquis of Hartington's.
Your final test.
What do you mean?
Before you become a fully fledged professional beauty.
I don't understand.
Well, surely you've understood. Lady Dudley, Mrs. Wheeler, Patsy, and the others all conform to one type, fair-haired, young, married. The type most admired by the Prince of Wales. Society chooses you, pampers you, and dangles you before him to entice them to their homes.
How can you say that? I've never even met him.
But you will. You are beautiful and intelligent. You have proved yourself discreet. You have been vetted by his aides, Allen Young and Suffield. And tonight you will be inspected by his closest advisor, Hartington. Hearty-tarty.
Oscar, that's nonsense.
Is it? Forgive me, my dear. Pay no attention. It's just that I've...
What is it?
How can I tell you? These past days, months, seeing you in the distance, laughing with the others, your lighted window, your voice in my heart, I felt such jealousy. But now it is over.
There was no need.
No. And my tribute to you is finished. Edmund Yates wishes to publish it. For years he's waited for a major work from me. Destiny. That my hymn to you should make my reputation. But your copy will be special. Bound in white vellum and inscribed with my duty and my love. But tonight, you go to Devonshire House.
It's a grand diplomatic affair. I shall arrive and leave unnoticed.
Sir Allen Young and Mrs. Wheeler. Lord and Lady Suffield.
Fairest of ladies, queen of the night, be these your path through life. May rosebuds and violets e'er sweeten the path you tread.
Mr. and Mrs. Edward Langtry.
It's all superb, Lord Hartington.
Glad you like it. It's been a great pleasure showing you around. I've never noticed half the things myself.
I'm very grateful. Shouldn't we be getting back?
Whatever for?
Won't your guests be wondering where...
Let 'em. You know, I haven't enjoyed one of these do's so much for years.
Oh, aren't they lovely?
You like them, Mrs. Langtry?
More than anything, almost. They're exquisite.
Right. You shall have one. Oh, hang it.
Lord Hartington!
Which one would you like? Oh, this one? How about that one?
Oh, please, I don't mind either. Please.
You must have more than one.
Lord Hartington, please be careful. You'll be going...
No, hang it. Have the lot. Here, man, here. And another one for Tuesday.
That's
You shall have
plenty.
one for every
Please.
month in the year. There you are, man. With a bit of luck, we might find you a goldfish.
Did you see that? I am soaked through. It is not in the least funny. Those footmen, they just dumped these things in on top of me.
Well, Lord Hartington was most thoughtful.
Thoughtful? This cab smells like a cesspit.
It's only a gesture.
Gesture? I'll show you a gesture.
Ned.
It's revolting. Oh. It's no laughing matter. I am wet through and smelling like a duck pond. If you think I'm going to stand here and... Stop laughing!
Lillie? Lillie? You asleep? Oh, come on. Don't pretend you're asleep already. I'm sorry. I was angry earlier. I've spoiled your evening.
You've been drinking.
No, only one or two. I needed them. I don't know how you do it. All these parties. You have something to say to everyone. The right thing, a smile at the right time. I never think of what to say. Half an hour after someone has spoken to me, I can think of what I should have answered, but I don't enjoy it much, you know.
Don't think of it as being so important. Don't worry about what people think. If you just
I
let
don't
them
need any
see you-
advice from you, thank you very much.
Lillie?
No.
Oh, please. I need you. It's been months now.
I'm tired.
You're always tired.
No, Edward, I'm tired and you're drunk.
You're not a decent wife anymore. You know that? You're a... That's what you are.
Well?
I don't know what to say.
You're disappointed.
It's so beautiful, I don't feel worthy of it.
I will not have my goddess renounce her divinity. If it succeeds, it is because it captures something of your mystery.
I'm so touched.
No, please, accept it for what it is, a tribute to Helen, formerly of Troy, now of London. I've called it the New Helen.
Yes, I saw.
You really like it?
Oh, much more than like it.
All of it, or some parts more than others?
Well, all of it, but some parts are. The lotus leaves which healed the wounds of death lie in thy hand. O be thou kind to me, while yet I know the summer of my days. So bowed am I before thy mystery, so bowed and broken on love's terrible wheel, that I have lost all hope and heart to sing. Yet care I not what ruin time may bring, if in thy temple thou wilt let me kneel. To read, to have words like that written to me just now.
What is it, my dearest?
Edward and I, we...
Tell me.
My marriage is a sham. Edward and I appear together in public. In private, we have nothing to say to one another. Nothing that draws us together. It's my fault. I can't bear him to touch me. We have not been man and wife for over a year now.
Oh, my poor darling.
Oscar.
Cry if you want to.
I never cry. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have told you.
But who else would you tell? How does Edward feel?
Resentful? He says it's due to my coldness.
Your coldness? But you are a creature of fire.
No, I'm a woman with natural affections who wants sympathy and companionship. After everything that's happened over the past few months, my head's been in a whirl.
You have been a rock against which adoration beats, but have not changed.
Adoration? What does it mean?
You are surrounded by men who worship you. And there is me. You must know how deeply I feel for you.
I have felt closer to you than to anyone.
Because we are twin spirits.
I have never been so happy, so at ease as with you.
Because you know that I love you totally.
Oscar.
And yet, it is your pure perfection that I love, which must remain inviolate, untouched by desire.
You mean it's a pose? Nothing you have said is true.
Now, what is the truth? The truth is that I really do love you. Yet, it is the curse of my nature that I can desire, but not possess beauty. It must always be just out of reach. I've wept for you and for myself.
If you let me, I would show you I'm more real than the goddess you imagine.
That is the one truth that I am frightened of.
Oh, I didn't realize you were here, Mr. Wilde.
I brought Lily her copy of the poem.
I look forward to reading it. You join me in a drink?
No, thank you. No, I feel I may have already outstayed my welcome.
Of course not.
I hope that you'll forgive me if I run away. Good day, sir.
Good day. Good riddance. Well, come along, Lily. Time we were getting ready.
For what?
We're going to the opera with Alan Young tonight.
I don't feel like it.
Oh, don't you? Well, just remember the amount of times I've had to go to places because of you. Alan Young is an interesting chap. Fine sportsman. Damn sight better than these artistic Johnny-come-latelys. He's asked us to the opera and then to supper afterwards without fail. And we are going.
I do think the Jadoress sung wonderfully.
It's such a pure voice.
Do you enjoy the opera, Mr. Landry?
Yes, I do.
Which are your favourites?
Well, you see, I can never really remember the names.
That's because they're all in Italian. What?
Yes, well, of course, it is so difficult. Aida, Norma, the Barber of Seville.
Edward is like me. He'd far rather be up to his waist in a trout stream than half asleep at Covent Garden.
Exactly.
Will you excuse me?
Yes.
Do you get much fishing in these days, Mr. Landry?
Not much, no.
Patsy?
Excuse me.
I expected to see you at Lottie Manchester's.
Yes, oh, we were in the country. I was so sorry.
I was just saying really? Yes. Why won't you do that?
What on earth is holding up supper? I'm starving.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm afraid I'm a little late, Eleno. Not at all, sir. We were only just ready to go in.
It's the Prince of Wales.
Good evening. Good evening. Hello, Andrews. Sophiel, good to see you.
Your Royal Highness.
Mrs. Wheeler, how nice to see you. And my dear Mrs. West. How very charming you're looking this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Your Royal Highness, may I present Mrs. Edward Langtry? I have seen your portrait, Mrs. Langtry. It does not do you justice.
Mr. Millet's sense of colour is very fine.
Oh, I don't mean Millet's. I mean the one my brother Leopold has on the wall of his room. Mr. Langtry, sir. You're a yachting man, I believe, Mr. Langtry.
Yes, sir, I do. I have sailed, yes, sir.
Good, good. Well, we must have a race sometime, eh? Would you care to go into supper now, sir? Yes, by all means. We mustn't keep everyone waiting any longer. Patsy, I believe I have the honor.
Thank you, sir.
And in supper, you have
no idea it was him we were waiting for.
Yes. Edward, perhaps you'd care to escort Mrs. Wheeler into supper?
Delighted.
And may I take in your wife?
Oh, please.
Perhaps you'd care to sit on His Royal Highness's other side.